Good morning, lovely to see you again. We are catching up on what happened in the life of Jesus. We looked at what happened after the resurrection last week. And for this week, I've got a question for you. Do you know the very last thing Jesus said while he was still on the earth? If you look in Acts chapter 1, verse 8, this is a really famous verse. He said, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." And then he got taken up to heaven in a cloud. It was amazing. After he went back to heaven, all the disciples carried on hanging out together. They'd meet in each other's houses and they'd talk about all the amazing things that they'd seen Jesus do. One day, not long after this had happened, they were all in a house together when something really strange happened. Suddenly, the house was filled with the sound of a fierce wind. Can you make that sound? And then something even more strange happened. Little flames of fire came and sat on each person's head. Can you imagine what you would do if you looked in the mirror and suddenly you could see a flame on your head? This fire was special. It didn't burn them. It just sat there above their heads. And then something else even crazier happened. They started speaking other languages that they didn't know. It would be like if I was talking to you now and all of a sudden I'd be like, "Bonjour, je m'appelle Rodio," or "Guten Tag, wie geht's?" or "La, shukran." Or if I was just trying to speak and suddenly all these other languages that I'd never learned came out. I had learnt those languages, so that was cheating. But God gave this heavenly language to them and they all just started speaking it. At this point, they'd gone outside. They weren't inside the house anymore. They'd gone outside. And in Jerusalem, it was the place where everybody went. There were lots of people from all over the world in Jerusalem. And they recognised the disciples speaking their own languages. There were 11 disciples at that point, and they were all speaking these heavenly languages. There were more than 11 different nationalities in Jerusalem, but all of them understood what was being said. It was just incredible. The disciples knew that something very special was happening. God was giving them a special helper called the Holy Spirit. And these were all signs that he had come. The Holy Spirit had come to help the disciples tell everyone about Jesus, just as he told them to do when he was still on earth with them. And this was the helper that he'd promised to send. One of the disciples, one of the most famous ones, good old Peter, stood up in a crowd outside in Jerusalem. He told all the people all about Jesus. And lots of them decided they wanted to follow Jesus too. Peter baptised all the people who wanted to be friends with Jesus that day. And that day, it was about 3,000 people. And the church celebrates this as the day of Pentecost. If you ever hear of Pentecost, that means that's the day that the Holy Spirit came. Some people call it the church's birthday, so we all really need to have a slice of cake. Maybe this fire that was above their heads was the candles. But Jesus promised he would send a helper, and he did. And the absolute best part of it is that helper is still with us today. When you hear from God, that's the Holy Spirit whispering to you. When you see God moving, that's the Holy Spirit showing you. The Holy Spirit gives us power, me and you. And it may be that you're able to speak in different languages that you've never learned, or it may be that you're able to pray for someone and see them get healed, or it may be that someone says something in one language and you understand it and can tell it in another language. And there are so many different things that we can do with the Holy Spirit. And I've asked you before if you want to make friends with Jesus. And I'm going to ask you today, if you haven't already, or if you have and you want to make sure, today will be a great day to say, "Holy Spirit, come and be in my life. I want to see you working through me. I want you to help me to tell all of my friends, to tell all of my family all about you." And God will send his Holy Spirit. It might not be like the mighty wind that they had, and it might not be flames on our heads, and it might not instantly be speaking different languages, but if you invite the Holy Spirit, he will come and you will see incredible things. So do it. today would be a great day. And if you do start seeing amazing things happening, please tell us so that we can share it with everyone else and we can really celebrate with you. Have a fabulous week. Bye.